guys and gals, it's Steph with Chinese Garden, and today is Tuesday, April 13th, and I'm coining this the Great Greenhouse Exodus. I am getting a lot of my cold hardy annuals, which I've brought out of the greenhouse today to acclimate a little more to the outdoor weather. It's time for most of them to get into the ground now that I have my beds filled with compost and are ready to go. I wanted to give you an idea of where a lot of my plants are right now so you can kind of cross-check with where yours are at if you're in zone 5B like me, and more importantly, if you have a last frost date around April 30th, which is what mine is, you would be right along the same path as me. If your date varies by a certain number of days, you can fix for that correction and know kind of where you're at or when yours could be going out as well. So let's take a look at these. Most of them were planted in, well, Lysianthus was started in January. I've still got that inside. I need to get them outside, which is why I'm moving a bunch of these out into the outdoors because I need more room in the greenhouse. But things like Snapdragons and sweet peas and what else do I have? Bells of Ireland needs to go out. Bachelor Button needs to go out. A bunch of things. Those all were started around February, March. They need to spread their wings and fly. So let's do a quick tour here. I'll give you an up-close look at all of these and what they are, and then I'll let you know what I'm going to be putting out. Okay, here's a look at everything that's been in the greenhouse. Let's go section by section here and take a look at all these beauties. First, we have pansies. These have been potted up and are looking good. Those can go out right now into the outdoors. Over here, I have two stock that I needed to pot up just to have extra space for, and you can see the difference in size with those compared to my tray here. I've got some bigger ones, a little yellowing of the leaves. They need to be fertilized, but overall, the potted up ones are much bigger. So I really recommend, if you don't have a ton of stock seedlings, that you go ahead and pot them up after you've let them germinate and grow on a little bit in their cell trays. If they're like in a 2-inch cell tray or smaller, pot them up into a 3 or 4-inch pot, because they'll really explode and put on a lot of growth. But if you have a ton, and I have a ton, it's a lot of work to pot up. So, you know, do what you can, but I can see the difference there. Then moving along, we've got the rest of my Iceland poppies that need to go in the ground. These are my tinier ones. I may let them grow on a little more. Let's come across to here. We have Bells of Ireland, and these babies could have gone out March 25th, and I did not get them out. So they're gonna go in today. This is one of my biggest projects I need to get done today. And these over here on this part of this tray, from here and over, are all Bells of Ireland too. And you can see kind of a similar thing. These were planted after the others. Let's see. These were planted on 2/16. Is there a date here? These were planted on, 2/16 as well. So the same day, but you can see these are in about a 2-inch cell tray, and these are in much smaller. So you can see the big difference between how much growth they can put on if they've got a little more room for those roots to grow. Same principle as the stock. Really interesting stuff. Then the rest of this tray, we have Foxglove, a biennial, and I'm going to do a video on biennials because I think those can be confusing to people, but essentially they put on green foliage for the first year, and then the second year they come back and they flower, and then they just die and go away. However, I think some of the varieties I have here will flower the first year. So that's exciting. And most of these will go out now as well. I've got Dusty Miller in there. Here are the Snapdragons. These are the ones that were struggling, and they're actually doing quite well now. They put on a lot of growth. These are the ones that weren't doing well in the beginning and are now doing really great. Beautiful. Here's my other tray that was struggling. The coloring's still a little off. they need to be fertilized, but overall I think they're gonna be fine. And here's my other tray. Now I did do that experiment where I potted up some that weren't looking so good, and again, that really helped. Like that one you would have never even known that I thought there was a problem with. So when in doubt, if you've got some troubled seedlings, pot them up, give them more room for their roots to grow and breathe. And the coloring on all these are looking a lot better too. So interesting finding there, but it makes sense. Then down here we have gorgeous sweet peas. These guys are definitely ready to go out too. I potted some of these up in this tray. I actually might have even grown them. I can't even remember now how they got into these pots, but they're looking gorgeous again with a ton of room to grow. Those are by far my prettiest in those. I think that's half-gallon or gallon size pot there. Oh boy, my weaker looking ones. I don't know what happened to these. A water issue or something. I'm still gonna try and put them out because the other side of the seedling looks good, but not my best on those. But then we come back to beautiful sweet peas again in these trays here. So that's why it's helpful to have different succession plantings of them. If one or two trays don't work out very well, you've got some beauties to back it up. So those will go out ASAP as well as the Snapdragons. Then lastly, over here we have some more pansies, and some of them have been eaten by, I think, mice, which is frustrating, but I've got plenty. And then we have different types of violas here. Those can both go out and get planted. I think containers are where those are headed. And then we have more cold hardy annuals. These were planted, let's see when, 2/24. And that is calendula, bachelor button, and more stock. Looking good. A little bit weepy here, and that's just because they need water. So I'm gonna give all of these a good drink here. Absolutely every one of these trays needs to be watered. And then I'm going to get bachelor button for sure, because that's one of the cold hardiest, most cold hardy. There we go, most cold hardy. Stock for sure needs to go out into the ground. Calendula, I believe, could as well. And Snapdragons also. I don't think I'm going to be able to get all of them out. Oh, and Bells of Ireland for sure. As I said before, those need to go out too. So you can see I've got a lot of work ahead of me. And also the Foxglove. Woo-wee! Stephanie, you need to get planting, girlfriend. And I think it's actually going to rain, so I've got a limited amount of time here, but I'm gonna go through and get in what I can and capture on video what I can, because I'm thinking this might be a really helpful video for some of you to see what's going in the ground and how I'm getting them in there. So let's get started and do this. The only thing I need is some Biotone starter fertilizer, which I'm gonna put a little bit in each hole, and that's it. It's gonna rain later, so I don't even have to water them in. But like I said, I am gonna give them a good drink now because I think they'll be better able to come out of those cell trays without crumpling. So let's do that first. Get to planting and decide what I want to plant now according to what's most cold hardy. So that's Bachelor Buttons, Bells of Ireland for sure, sweet peas, stock. I want to make sure I get those in the ground. I'm not 100% sure where I want all my sweet peas because they need to be able to climb on something, and I just want to do my raised beds right now. So that'll be the Bachelor Button, Bells of Ireland, and stock. Okay, that's my goal today. Thinking out loud here, thinking out loud. And if it holds off raining, I can hopefully find a spot for those sweet peas, but we'll see. racing against nature here. Okay, so coming out to the front raised bed, there's my bed of Iceland poppies. This is one of them I'm going to plant up today. So we've got land and sea compost from Espoma. I'm going to put 2 bags on top of the bulk compost I got as my very top layer. And this is a 7.5 foot bed by 4 feet. Then I'm going to broadcast spread the Biotone starter fertilizer. It'll be easier than sneaking some into each hole. And then I'm going to go stock in this one. I think that'll be really pretty from the road. And with stock, I'm going to do 6-inch spacing, which in this 4 foot wide bed, that should give me, I believe, 7 rows. So I will have a big bed of stock here. I think it'll fill the whole thing up. As far as how I'm arranging it, I've got each variety written on the tag. That one's apricot. And I believe I went down, up, and then the next one starts there. So I'm going to try and do them in order so that I've got a gradation of color. I think that should be pretty. Bachelor buttons I'm going to do in a different bed. Those will also be 6 inches I'm going to shoot for because they don't get very bushy. But over here is going to be my Bells of Ireland bed, and these get bigger and bushier, so that's going to be 12-inch spacing for all of those Bells of Ireland in here. Okay, let's get to work. And I'm just breaking up any chunks in this compost here. And this particular compost has lobster and crab meal in it, I believe is what it's called. Okay, fertilizers in. I'm just gonna rub that in and get these plants in there. Okay, my battery died as I was planting them, but they're all in. And hot dog, there's 7 rows, just as I had planned. So I did my best to eye that 6-inch spacing here and pretty much zigzagged them. But I'm really, really happy with it. It's working out, it's looking good. That's so exciting. So a couple things I want to share that I found was helpful is instead of laying a whole row out, I would do like 3 or 4 and then plant them, and then get another 3 or 4 out and then plant them. That just seemed to be the best method that worked for me to be the most efficient. So that's number 1. Number 2, these will have drip installed in them tomorrow. I have a spout, I'll show you over here. That black nozzle with the duct tape on it right there is an irrigation line. My irrigation guy came in along this path in between these beds, and now I have a main water line coming up and into each bed that I'll put on a Bluetooth water system so I can water it whenever. I believe with that I'll end up using a 1/4 of an inch drip and probably 4 rows. I'm guessing 3 or 4 rows going down and back here. So that's coming tomorrow. Another thing, I've said this before, but these are cold tolerant, very cold hardy. So if it freezes or we get a frost, these will be okay. That's why I'm putting the most cold hardy plants in my raised beds now. Again, I'm zone 5B, so it is still getting pretty cold at night. There was a dip about last week that was into the 20s, and that's why I kind of held off, but I also needed to get my compost in and get these beds filled. So any temperature we have now, which will mainly be either freezing or above, maybe 30 degrees Fahrenheit, but mostly above freezing, these will be just fine out here. And now, everyone, I'm afraid a storm is coming in. The wind's picking up. It's cooled off quite a bit, and so I'm gonna get my seedlings back into the greenhouse for some extra protection because it is supposed to be a thunderstorm. And looks like these Bells of Ireland and the Bachelor Buttons will have to wait until tomorrow, which is okay. I am still thrilled. I've got 2 boxes full of my 16, and it's a really exciting feeling. So I'm gonna go eat some dinner and get those seedlings back to their safe harbor. And let me know if you're planting anything in your boxes right now. I would love to hear what's going in your gardens. If you haven't, please subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you here to discuss all things garden, and we will see you in the next one. Happy planting. Bye.